Okay, I think we're good to start. So we're going to look at chapter 12. And again, I am going to try to highlight what you need to know in chapter 12 to do well on your homework and on your chapter 12 exam. What do you want to focus on? So we're in our textbook, and let's see what we are going to be working with in chapter 12. So we're going to be working with el deporte or los deportes, sports, and well-being, el bienestar. And so we'll start with the section comunicación. What do they want us to take away in this chapter? And so if we go to page 351, okay, at the top there is a box. And so let's take a look and see what they want us to know. What are we going to see on our chapter 12 exam? And so if we look at the comunicación section, they want us to be able just to wish somebody luck. So particularly in the case, since we're dealing with sports, and you might want to wish someone luck in playing a game, or if they're going out on an excursion to have luck climbing a mountain, let's say. So let's take a look. Buena suerte is one way you might desire someone luck. Again, and this could be applied beyond sports, of course. Someone's going to be taking an exam. You might say, buena suerte, good luck, or just suerte. You could just say, mucha suerte. Again, that's all they're showing you here. And then finally, if you might say to a friend, te deseo mucha suerte. Or if it's somebody that you would use usted with, le deseo mucha suerte. Okay. What are some other things? If you want to give encouragement to somebody, okay. Maybe they did perform poorly, but you want them to keep on trying, whether it's a course or a sporting event. Ánimo, keep your spirits up. Or you might say, so that's one example. Another thing you might say to somebody to just encourage them is adelante, okay? Adelante. Again, go for it. Let's go. You can do it. Just make sure you're familiar with these. And you can do it. Si se puede. Yes, it can be done. Okay, so make sure you kind of understand these expressions and look at the examples they give you in your book, because you're going to have to apply these on your exam. I mean, it's not difficult, but and then finally, when you're saying goodbye to somebody, again, I don't know why they put this particularly here, but when you're saying goodbye to somebody, you might want to wish them well. And often you'll hear, you might say to somebody, to a friend, you're using the to form, que te vaya bien, that it goes well for you. Or if it's instead form, que le vaya bien. Or if you're saying to a bunch of people, que les vaya bien. You're saying goodbye to a group of friends, and maybe they're taking an exam tomorrow, maybe they're going somewhere. You might say que les vaya bien. Often you'll hear people say que tenga usted un buen día. Okay, que usted tenga un buen día, or que tengas un buen día. If you use the to form, you'll hear this all the time. You could say que tenga un buen fin de semana. You'll have a good, nice weekend, or que usted tenga un buen verano. All right, so look at those. And again, those are used generally when you're taking leave of somebody and you want to wish them well. Okay. All right, and look at the examples below. Okay. They're putting people in maybe a medical situation where they just had some testing done, or maybe they lost a game or they won a game. How would you or could you address somebody? So look through those and just get comfortable with it, because you will see this on your exam. more in the area of comunicación and, let's say, health and sports. So here is a phrase, para mantenerse sano, since we're dealing with bienestar, para mantenerse sano, to maintain yourself healthy, so to stay healthy, in English is the way we would say it, is mantenerse sano for a man, mantenerse sana if you're a female, a woman. Okay, and so in order to stay healthy, you would say, para mantenerse sano, yo como muchas frutas. So to maintain or to stay healthy, I eat a lot of fruit. Okay, so you'll be put in situations on your exam where you're going to have to maybe give some examples of how do you stay healthy? What things can you do? And there's a lot of vocabulary in there. What else? Para mantenerse en forma, to stay in shape, yo como poco. So to stay in shape, I eat a little. Okay. I don't know why they give you this phrase, no hay que plus the infinitive. Hay que means have to. Have to. So no hay, or really it is necessary. No hay que levantar pesas. Let's look at that. Para mantenerse en forma. So you don't have to. If hay que means have to plus the infinitive, you don't have to lift weights, levantar pesas, para mantenerse en forma, to stay in shape. Okay, so look through these materials and make sure you feel comfortable with them. Let's see. Let's now go to vocabulary on page 354. Okay, and so make sure you're familiar, and you all had Spanish now, so you should be familiar with different sports and different sporting activities. So make sure you're familiar with these. Let's see. So, to go to ride a bicycle is, one of the ways to say it is montar en bicicleta or andar en bicicleta, even ir en bicicleta. To mountaineering is hacer alpinismo. To play a sport like volleyball, jugar voleibol. To ride a skateboard, andar en patineta. Jugar baseball, to play baseball, levantar pesas, boxear. El atletismo is track and field. Jugar fútbol americano, esquiar, patinar, jugar tenis, surfear. There's a bunch of sports. Just make sure that you're familiar with the different sports and how to express them. And be aware of some of the equipment you would use in sports. So if you're going to andar en bicicleta, you're going to use la bicicleta. And you'll also use el casco, okay, the helmet. La raqueta, sorry, for tennis. Los patines are the skates. Skateboard, patineta. La pelota is a ball. Pesas are weights. Piscina, pool. So los tenis or zapatos tenis, I call them los zapatos tenis, but it would be your sneakers. Let me see, what else do we have here? Again, look through this material here. They interview different people and they talk about the different sports they like and they participate in. You're going to have little things where you're going to have to do some readings on individuals involved in sports or some form of athleticism, and answer some questions. So just make sure you feel comfortable with the different sports and this vocabulary. Okay. And there is a full compendium of the chapter 12 vocabulary on the last page of the chapter, as you know, and you might want to look at some of this vocabulary. So if we can go real, let me see if I can move us to this area, and hold on one second. Okay, chapter 12. Let me go all the way and just quickly look at the chapter 12 vocabulary. So again, go through these terms. This is the last page of the chapter, page 381, I believe. So again, I just went through a lot of this comunicación vocabulary. Make sure you're familiar with it. Here are your sports, los deportes. Okay, el atletismo, track and field, la carrera, the race, el casco, the helmet, la competencia means competition. Okay, not competición, but la competencia. Entrenador, coach or trainer. El equipo is a team. Look at these, because you're going to have small readings or areas where you're going to need to work a little bit with this vocabulary. Let me see what else. As I told you, this chapter does deal with el bienestar, well-being, y la salud. So you should know some vocabulary surrounding health, to cough, sneeze, how do you feel? Since we've just had this pandemic, some pandemic vocab, let's take a look at what they've given us here. La altura means height. So you might be measuring somebody. El cambio, maybe your blood pressure changes. So they're giving you some vocabulary that could be used for health reasons. La cuarentena, quarantine. Okay, many of us were quarantined during the COVID epidemic. El dato is a piece of information or data. Dolor, okay, these are words, again, words that are symptomatic of illness or feeling bad. So dolor is pain. La enfermedad is a disease or illness. La fiebre, many people had this fiebre when they had COVID. La mascarilla is your face mask. La mascarilla. La medida is a measurement. El peso, weight. Again, if you go to the doctor's office, they might get your height measurement, okay, and they might get your weight, el peso. Notice weight means peso, but weights that you live are pesas. Okay, presión is blood pressure, queja. If you get sick, you will have a queja, a complaint. Síntoma. A lot of this language here are síntomas, symptoms related language. La tos is a cough. To lose weight is to bajar de peso. To gain weight is subir de peso. Cambiar, to change. No encontrarse bien, not to find yourself well, not to feel well. Or I would use sentir, no me siento bien. Enfermarse is to get sick. It's a reflexive verb, yo me enfermo. Medir, mejorarse is to get better. Mejor is better, to get better is mejorarse. It's a reflexive verb, yo me mejoro cuando como bien. I feel better when I eat well. Quejarse is to complain. Sufrir, to suffer. Tener alergia a, to be allergic to. Tengo alergia a la leche. I'm allergic to milk. Tomar los datos, to take data. Okay, so again, there is a health component. Make sure you can talk a little bit about symptoms if you're not feeling well. Here is some language associated more with sporting activities. Again, we looked at this different sports. Make sure you're familiar with that vocabulary. Okay, let's go back now, and we will, what I'd like to do now is have us look at now well, first of all, we can go to La Salud y el Bienestar. I kind of went to the last page to the vocabulary, but again, look through this section on el bienestar and la salud. We just went through the different things that it's done to you at a doctor's office and the different symptoms you might feel if you're ill. Okay, so again, just be familiar with that. You will have some questions where people are in a context where they're feeling poorly, okay, or they're at the doctor's office, okay. And so let's take a quick look at this language, and this page 359, talking about illness. Okay, so la enfermedad is an illness. Symptoms are los síntomas, even though it ends in an A, it's masculine. Complaints, las quejas. Pain is dolor. Okay, the verb doler functions like gustar. So we all know that gustar does not use subject pronouns. You don't say I like, yo gusto, you say me gusta. We use the indirect object pronouns. You like is te gusta, he likes is le gusta, we like is nos gusta, and they like is les. And you use these same indirect object pronouns. With doler, it is a stem changer. So in the present tense, the dol becomes duel. The O goes to UE. And I'm just refreshing old Spanish we had in the past. So look at how it works. Te duele la cabeza. Does your head hurt you? Te duele el estómago. Okay, so le duelen a usted los pies. So you might ask somebody, if you're going to use the formal you would say le duelen los pies. If you wanted to ask a friend that, you would say te duelen los pies. And the person could answer back, me duele or me duelen. If the body part is plural, it's me duelen los pies. If it's a singular body part like stomach, me duele el estómago. Again, here is, we just saw some of these terms on the last page, but again, look through these terms that you would use when talking about sickness, illness. During the pandemia, during a pandemic, and pandemia was a big word these past couple of years all throughout the Spanish-speaking world, pandemic, people were using la mascarilla. Some people still are, you will find them using mascarillas to this day. COVID, by the way, was a virus, okay? It often caused la tos, a cough. Okay, again, make sure you get familiar, in addition to the sports-related terms and vocabulary, that you're familiar with this health vocabulary, because there's going to be some questions regarding this. Now, let's move on. And we need to go to estructura on page, let's see, 363. So let's go on to estructura, or grammar. And what do they want us to learn here? Okay. Okay. This is just review. It's the present perfect tense. Okay. I hope you all remember how to form it. It's the same in English. It's a two-part tense. It's the verb to have, and then the past participle of the verb. So in English, I would say, I have eaten. Okay, with the verb to eat, the present perfect tense of the verb to eat is I have eaten, you have eaten, we have eaten, they have eaten. We conjugate the verb to have, it's our auxiliary or helping verb, and then eaten is my past participle. So you need to know how to conjugate the verb to have, and you need to know which verb to have to use. It's the verb haber, okay, not tener. And you need to know how to conjugate it in the present tense, and then you need to know how to form the present participle. Okay, so comer, is an ER verb. And so for ER and IR verbs, we form the present participle how. You should all remember this. Take the stem of the verb and you add on the magic ending ido. Yo he comido. Yo he vivido. And if you have an AR verb, how do we get the present participle? Again, we get the stem and we add on ado. Ado. So if I want to say I have drunk, or yo he tomado, stem and ending, I put add on ado. Just make sure I have practiced, yo he practicado. So make sure you can form the present perfect tense. Now, there's a little bit more to this. They want you to be able to use the present perfect tense with object pronouns, your direct object pronouns and your indirect object pronouns. Okay, so again, the present perfect tense is formed by conjugating the verb haber in the present tense. Make sure you review that. Yo, he, tú, has, él, ha, ella, ha. Nosotros, hemos, and ellos han. Know that. I mean, this is review. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. And then you would add in your past participle. Now, if we go here to page 264, please look at these actividades analíticas and make sure that you know how to use the object pronouns with the present perfect tense. And so here we want to say that I have won it. In this case, Yulimar has won it. How do we say Yulimar has won it? Well, if it is the game, it's el juego or el partido, so it's masculine. How do we say it? You have to go and review your, what do you call it? Your direct object pronouns, which is real simple. It's lo. Okay, so we want to say Yulimar has won it. Now, where do we always put our object pronouns? We always put them before the conjugated verb. Okay, we can also attach them to the end of a what? Infinitive. Now, in this case, we have no infinitives. So the only place we can put our object pronouns is before the conjugated verb. When I have the present perfect tense, what is my conjugated verb? It's haber. So your pronouns, whether it's le, nos, lo, la, they'll always come before haber. So we want to say Yulimar has won the game. Now we want to say she has won it. We want to use the pronoun. So Yulimar lo ha ganado. Okay. I hope everyone sees that. Very, very simple. And it would be the same with a reflexive verb. Okay. Yulimar se ha despertado. Yulimar has woken up early. Same with indirect object. Yulimar has written a letter to him. Yulimar le ha escrito una carta. Please look through this very basic stuff, but they want you to know this. Okay. They've thrown a lot of stuff in here. Now they're jumping to the situation where we have an infinitive, a verb infinitive. So there are cases where you will have the present progressive tense and a verb infinitive. So now we have two options for the placement of the object pronoun. We can put it before haber, the conjugated verb, or we can attach it to the end of the infinitive if there's an infinitive nearby. So let's look at this example. Yulimar has wanted to win it. Again, the it here would be the partido, the game, so it's going to be lo. Now, Yulimar has wanted. How would you say has wanted? That's the present progressive tense. Ha querido. has wanted. To win is ganar. Now we all of a sudden magically have an infinitive there. So now we can put the it either before the conjugated verb haber, or we can attach it to the end of the infinitive. Don't kill yourself with this, but that's basically what this is about. Okay, so make sure you understand that. You're not going to have a lot of questions on this, but be aware of that. Okay, now let's, and you might want to try to do this. For each sport, escribe cuántas veces, write as many times that you have seen it on TV or in person. How many times you have practiced it this year, okay? So like track and field, okay? You could say, yo lo he visto dos veces. I've seen it twice. I've seen 2 track and field events. I've practiced it. Yo lo he practicado una vez. I practiced track and field once. Basketball. Yo lo he visto 5 veces. Let's say I've seen it 5 times this year. Okay. You know, I follow the Miami Heat and I've seen 5 games. Yo no lo he practicado. I haven't practiced any basketball all year. But I'll take a look at that. Okay, let's move on. Now, there's a section on cultura. Read through the cultura sections because you're going to have a reading probably on something similar and have to answer questions on it. So make sure if you're given a reading on a sports activity, you can follow it and answer some questions. Okay. All right. Next, and we will, let's take a look here. Okay, they give us, again, the present progressive tense with object pronouns. So go back and review the present progressive tense. It's got 2 verbs. It's a compound verb form, just like the present perfect. The present progressive is the verb estar. That's your verb to be. Make sure you know which verb to be to use. And then you will use your present participle. So in English, if I have the verb to eat, I am eating. Am eating is your present progressive tense. Just review it, make sure you can form it. Now they want you to use the present progressive tense with object pronouns. So again, you could say, I am eating it. So where do you place the it, the pronoun? You can always put it, and it's always correct if you put it before the conjugated verb. The conjugated verb in this case will always be the verb estar. So yo lo estoy comiendo. I am eating it. But with the present progressive tense, you also get an option to put the pronoun, the object pronouns, and attach them onto the end of the present participle. So I could say, yo estoy comiendo lo. Make sure you know how to form the present participles, okay? For AR verbs like tomar, you get the stem and you add on ando. Yo estoy tomando, I am taking or I am drinking. For ER and IR verbs, you get the stem and you add on yendo. Yo estoy comiendo. Él está viviendo. And again, you can put your pronouns either before the conjugated verb estar, or you can attach it to the end of the participle. I'm not going to say any more on this. This is really basic, straightforward stuff. Finally, let's look at the subjunctive case. And we do have the subjunctive in English, and we do use it, but very rarely. In Spanish, though, it's used all of the time. And so you have to look at what you what's going on, because certain verbs will trigger the use of the subjunctive. So let's take a look, and let me make sure we're on the correct page here. So I'm on page 370, and let's take a look here. When do we use the subjunctive? Okay, let's see. And I'm sorry, 371. We use it with 371. Okay. Okay, so the verbs in bold and para empezar, the prior area above, are all in the to form of the present subjunctive. Okay, the subjunctive is used in a variety of situations, and just pay attention to this. Whenever you recommend something, okay, if you advise somebody to do something, or you say you want or you desire somebody to do something. So I advise you to do this. I want you to do this. I desire you to do this. I recommend that you do this. That thing you're doing is flipped into the subjunctive. And also, if it's obligatory, you have to do this. It is necessary that you do this. You're gonna, that thing that, whatever, it is necessary that you eat. Okay, I recommend that you sleep more. Okay, I advise you to talk less. Okay, those are situations where you would use the subjunctive. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at the subjunctive, and you can read through this on your own. But how do you form the subjunctive? And you form the subjunctive if you have an AR verb. Okay, you get the stem of the verb, and then all your conjugations will have E endings. Will have E in the ending, not an A in the ending any longer. Okay, if you have an ER or an IR verb, you take the stem of the verb and you put on your endings. Now, your endings will not have an E in them as they normally would in the present tense. They will have an A. Again, review this. We saw this with the command form, with the formal command form, with the usted command form. We basically are using the subjunctive when we're giving an usted command. So let's take a look at the verb tomar. What am I talking about? So tomar is an AR verb. I want to form the subjunctive of it for yo. So how do I do it? Well, get the stem, tom. It's an AR verb, so it's going to have an E ending. Now, what will my ending be? It's an E. Tome. Okay. Okay. Es necesario que yo tome más agua. It's necessary that I drink more water. Not que yo tomo, but tome, because it's an obligation. Or he recommends that I. Él recomienda que yo tome. Okay. What about the to form? It will not be an AS, it will be an ES. What about the el, ella, usted form? It won't be an A, but it'll be an E. Okay. Que yo recomiendo que él tome más agua. What about nosotros? It's going to be tomemos. Not tomamos, but tomemos. Again, AR verbs will, the E, A goes to E. So yo recomiendo que nosotros tomemos. And then finally, the ellos, ustedes form will not be toman, but tomen. Okay, so please look through this. Unfortunately, your book doesn't complete this here, but you can on your own. Now, what about ER and IR verbs? They will have the same ending. So normally in the present tense, they would have an E ending, okay? Tu comes, tu vives. But again, I told you verbs that end in ER and IR have A ending. So let's look at them. So first look at the yo form. Él recomienda que yo com. How do I form it? Get the stem com and I put an A on it. So que yo coma. Okay. What about the tu form? Él recomienda que tú comas. Not es, but as. Okay. What about the el form? Mary recomienda que él com, stem, and then ending will be a, coma. No, okay. Él recomienda que nosotros comamos, a ending again, and finally, que ellos coman, an a and ending. Everybody see that? And the same for vivir. In the subjunctive, you will not have e in the endings. Your vowel will be a. So él recomienda que yo viva en un clima agradable. So he recommends that que yo viva, not, it doesn't have an E ending, it'll have an A ending. Él recomienda que tú vivas aparte, es ending. Ellos recomiendan que ella viva. Again, A is your ending. Ellos recomiendan que nosotros vivamos. And then finally, él recomienda que ellos vivan. So again, make sure you can form the subjunctive of an AR verb. It will have E endings, not A endings. ER and IR verbs will have A in the endings, not an E. Again, stem and put on your endings, and you should all be able to conjugate. Now, when do we use the subjunctive form versus just the regular present indicative? You use the subjunctive again when somebody wishes something, recommends something, or obliges, is saying it is necessary. Okay, so let's take a look. Here's an example. Esperar que. It's immediately going to trigger the subjunctive. You're wishing, you're desiring something. So let's take a look. Espero que tú, not puedes, but puedas, as ending. Subjunctive. You're recommending something. You're hoping for something. Ojalá means I hope. It means, or hopefully is what it really means. Hopefully. So there's hope. Something's being hoped for, so you're going to have to use the verb that follows in the subjunctive, not the present. Ojalá que tú puedas venir. Hopefully you'll come. All right. Pedir que. When you request something, okay? When you request or desire something, okay? Ellos están pidiendo que trabajemos, not trabajamos, because you're requesting them to do them. So you're kind of ordering, obliging, requesting, okay? Again, if you desire something, querer que, yo quiero que ellos lleguen, not llegan, it's an AR verb, it's going to have a subjunctive. Again, when you request somebody, or deseo, yo deseo que ellos lleguen. And then obligation, es necesario que tu papá coma. Look at these, because you're going to be in the test and they're going to go, are you going to put, do you use a subjunctive? Watch and know which verbs trigger the subjunctive. If it's not one of these situations, where someone desires, wants something, or asks for something, or hopes for something, or says is obligatory, then you would just use the regular present tense. Okay. Okay. All right. And then they give you some cases where it can be a bit ambiguous. I wouldn't spend hours on this, but decir que, to say that, sometimes it expresses a recommendation, in which case you would use a subjunctive. When decir que is used simply just to state information, then you use the indicative. I'm not going to split hairs about this, but los médicos dicen que tomes mucho chocolate. So in that case, the doctors are telling you, they say that you should. That's kind of a recommendation. So you're going to use the subjunctive, and it's going to have an es ending because it's a two form, que tú tomes. Now the next one is just a statement. Los médicos dicen que tomas mucho chocolate. They're just making an observation. The doctors say that you drink a lot of hot chocolate. They just notice that you drink a lot of hot chocolate. So I don't really want to get so much into splitting hairs. Just know when, and it'll be much clearer on your exam when you watch for those verbs esperar, ojalá, the phrase, deseo que, pedir que, querer que, or ser necesario que. Those will trigger the use of the subjunctive. Okay, and let's see. And so look over these sections here, how to form the subjunctive and when to use it. Okay. All right. Okay, let's see. All right. And I think that should do it. Let me see. I think that do it. Practice practice some of the examples they give you. Okay, so do some of those activities like on 373. All right. So, for example, this is a great exercise here on page 373. Are you going to use pienso or quiero? Pienso is just a statement. Okay, I believe, I think. Quiero is a demand, a desire. That's going to immediately trigger the subjunctive. So look at the sentence. Which one is it? Which verb are we going to use here? Que Pepe está en el gimnasio. Okay, está is in the present tense, correct? So that means we use pienso. Pienso would never trigger the subjunctive, but quiero always would. It's a demand, it's a desire. Look at the next one. If we use pienso or quiero, we have to look at the rest of the sentence. We have to look at the verb. Que Martina trabaja. Well, que Martina trabaja is the present tense. It's not in the subjunctive, so again, we use pienso. Pienso que Martina trabaja en San Jose. Let's look at the next one. We use pienso or quiero, and it says que gane Nadal. Gane is ganar. It's an adverb, but it's got an E ending. It's in the subjunctive, and you should recognize that. If it's in the subjunctive, then we have to have quiero, because quiero triggers the subjunctive. It's a demand, it's a desire. All right. So make sure you can recognize this. Look at the next one. Pienso o quiero que van a limpiar. That van is going to, they are going, van is the they are going form. They are going to limpiar la piscina. So that they're going to clean the pool. Van is the present indicative, just the basic present tense. It's not the subjunctive. So it's pienso. By the way, you should be aware of the irregular subjunctive. The verb ir, some subjunctive verbs are irregular, and so for ir, it's vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayan. And again, we have just van, so we're going to use here pienso. Look at the next one, llueva. Llover is what? An ER verb, but look at it as an A ending here. It's the subjunctive. If it's in the subjunctive, then it's quiero. Quiero que llueva mañana. I hope that it rains. Again, or I want it to rain. So to hope for something, to desire something, to want something will always trigger the subjunctive. To recommend something will always trigger the subjunctive. To advise somebody to do something, okay, will always trigger subjunctive. And then when we say something is obligatory or necessary, that will trigger the subjunctive. Okay, I think that's it. I think if you focus on these areas in chapter 12, you'll do well on your exam. You may have to refamiliarize yourself with the present progressive tense, with the present perfect tense, right? Haber and the past participle, the present progressive tense, estar and the present participle. Look over that information with the use of object pronouns and in both of those tenses. It's very straightforward and simple, but spend a little time with it. And then look at your subjunctive tense. When do we use it? You should know what will trigger it. And you should be able to conjugate verbs in the subjunctive. Okay, and I think that should do it.
Professor Miles?
Yes.
So can I ask you a couple just general course related questions? So I had taken semesters 1 and 2 back when we were still using Cengage. So I'm not used to like the eConnect, or excuse me, the Connect system. And I had done the listening activity, but I hadn't clicked the submit button because I thought it had already submitted. Is there any way?
Yeah, just send me an email or a message and I'll look at it. Yeah, it was a bad transition even for me. So
yeah.
So yeah, so don't worry about that. Send me an email and I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I was wondering, so I had looked through the course policies and I hadn't seen anything, but I was wondering, are there going to be any sort of like dropping of lowest test grade or lowest quiz grades or anything like we've done in the past?
No, not in this particular one. I hadn't set that in there. We'll see how the semester progresses. I do grade with some degree of understanding and leniency because we are just getting used to a new textbook and testing format. So I won't be doing that. I generally it's worked out pretty well my first semester using this tech. I just had to kind of modify things a little bit, and we'll see how it goes. If you have any concerns on anything, just send me an email or a message, and I can work with you. I mean, I can see you're a serious student. This is not to catch anybody in anything. I want you to be able to learn the language. And I also think that the questions should be fair and understandable. And if you're making a good faith effort, I want to make sure you receive credit for that. So,
okay.
But those are good questions.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, then. And again, I just did want to say they messed me up in tech support, and so the due dates for everything are on the course plan schedule. You see that Sundays are when your Connect activities are due, and on Tuesdays your tests are due. If you look at Connect, it will have, they put central time dates on there and they messed everything up. So actually they show things due a day later, the next day, but by 1 a.m. in the morning. And so I didn't want people to get confused and turn things in late. So try to adhere to the dates in the course plan and course schedule. Okay. And again, sorry for that inconvenience, but we're all getting used to Connect. Okay. So again, your chapter 11 test is due by 11:59 p.m. Tonight, so try to finish that up. Okay. If that's it, then I will end the meeting. And, okay. Okay. Share.